Hello everyone, welcome to this lesson. If my voice sounds a bit funny, I've had that cold or flu that's floating around the world, but all is well. I like this picture, it's quite relaxing. Remember, you need to find a nice quiet place which is going to take you somewhere in the bookkeeping space. And thanks again for purchasing this lesson. You're going to be better off for it. I hope you enjoy this lesson on the petty cash journal, and hopefully with the incoming tide some money's going to come in. Remember, the more knowledge you acquire, the more chance you have of success. So keep gathering knowledge. And by the way, it is the 11th of December. It's my parents' 58th wedding anniversary. So well done to them. I'll dedicate this lesson to them and thank them for everything they've done for me. I often start with the bookkeeping cycle, as you well know. This is where we are. Remember, we're going to look at the petty cash journal. So transactions will take place with regard to the petty cash journal. We're going to look at the source document that is used to record a transaction, a petty cash transaction. Then we're going to put this transaction into the petty cash journal. And also in this video, I'm going to take the information from the completed petty cash journal to the general ledger. So that's what we're going to do today. These are the types of transactions we will look at. Paid telecom from petty cash. So we're using petty cash. Remember, petty cash is cash that is held on the premises to make small payments. So we would have, the bookkeeper or the petty cashier, the person in charge of the petty cash, would have made sure by cashing a check or drawing money from the bank that there's cash on the premises to make small payments. For example, I, the owner, used 500 Rand and I'm going to buy stamps, and it's for my own personal use. That's an example there of using petty cash. Here's another example. We paid for a courier to deliver our debtors' stock. So this money was put onto the school's account. Our debtor, the person or the institution we sell to on credit, we charge their account with the courier fees and use petty cash to pay for it. There's another little purchase some tea from the petty cash and some paper, and I took 50 Rand to pay for Caleb's bouncing balls. Remember, the owner's transactions are recorded separately from the business transactions, but in this case here I took cash from the petty cash, and it will be called drawings, what the owner takes out of the business. And what happens is there's the cash, the petty cash. Like I said, this is held on the premises to make small payments. This money is taken from the bank account, the business bank account, withdrawn from the business bank account and held in a safe on the premises. to make small purchases. There's a person put in charge of the petty cash, hopefully someone reliable and someone who records and documents all the transactions accurately. Let's call this person the petty cashier. It's a job, any job handling with the cash, you need to be responsible and honest and all those good qualities. So if I went and purchased something with the cash, I'd have to go back to the petty cashier with the slip and show this to the petty cashier. Then the petty cashier will draw up a document known as the petty cash voucher, and attached to the petty cash voucher will be the slip, the proof of payment that I received for purchasing an item. So the petty cashier gives cash to whoever is buying something, and the person who bought an item needs to go back with the slip and give it to the petty cashier. This is a supporting document, the slip, which is attached to the petty cash voucher. I'll go through these documents again as I normally do. Here's an invoice. So if I went and purchased an item, I'd be given an invoice or a slip, and those documents are given to the petty cashier who draws up this petty cash voucher. Then all this information is recorded in a journal, the petty cash journal, and from the petty cash journal the information is taken to the general ledger. There's the general ledger. So I'm going to show you how to take the information from the petty cash journal to the general ledger. So this is the bookkeeping cycle with regard to petty cash. So I look forward to explaining the whole journal to you. So if you remember, these were all the transactions for the month of February that took place for our business, Cashbook Education. These were our role players, the computer store, obviously the bank we bank with, our customer, the school. Now we're busy with the petty cash journal. So what we need to do is we need to identify the transactions that are going to go into the petty cash journal. So I've done that. I've worked through this. Remember, when you've been through all the journals, we would have covered all these transactions. But we're doing the petty cash journal. So let's see what happened on the 12th. It said paid Telkom for the telephone account for data from the petty cash, and a petty cash voucher was written up, 300. We need to record that transaction. So what we're doing at the moment is just identifying the transactions that need to go into the petty cash journal. So on the 12th, there's one. What document are we looking for? The petty cash voucher records transactions which go into the petty cash journal. On the 15th, Richard used 500, Richard the owner, from petty cash to buy stamps. Interesting, 50 stamps, and only 20 were for his own personal use. So I see 50 stamps is for Cashbook Education, the business. Is that actually correct? No. He bought 50 stamps. He took 20 maybe to send out some Christmas cards, to post some Christmas cards. So 50 minus 20, 30 are for business use, and 20 will go under drawings. The owner took 20 stamps for his own personal use. We're going to have to calculate the amount of money for business, what was spent on business stamps and what was spent on personal stamps. So we'll look at that in a bit more detail. So on this page here, we've identified on the 12th and on the 15th transactions that need to be recorded in the petty cash journal. The rain is coming down nicely outside here in Port Elizabeth, my hometown. So we're working through these transactions and we're looking for those transactions that go into the petty cash journal, and the document that is going to identify the transactions that go into the petty cash journal is the petty cash voucher. Now I've worked through this, and on the 18th, there we go, petty cash was used to pay the courier. So what we did at Calibre Education, we delivered some stock to the school, a customer of ours, and we charged the courier cost. We paid for it and we charged it to the account of the school. So that needs to be recorded into the petty cash journal, because petty cash was used to pay for the courier. Then on the 25th, purchased ginger tea, 85, and 3 reams of paper at 30 Rand each. So we're going to have to calculate how much petty cash was used, and we're going to have to record that in the petty cash journal. And this ginger tea will most probably be used for the staff. We're going to have to calculate VAT on the reams of paper, the paper for the business. So it looks like an interesting transaction. Then on the 25th as well, Richard, me, the owner of the business, took 50 Rand to pay for Caleb's bouncing ball. And looking at the rest of the transactions for the month, if you go and work through these transactions, you will see that nothing came from petty cash. I thought I'd just show you the role players here. Just a reminder, we are doing the books for my business Calibre Education. We specialize in accounting lessons, and often we buy items from the computer store. We load some software, some accounting lessons, and we sell them to the school. And we bank with the bank. That's where we hold our business account. So these are role players in our business, and we like to keep it all pretty. And I saw this written once on a school counselor's door, so I thought I'd throw it in here. In business, what is your most valuable asset? What do you think? Wait for it. Your reputation. So you want to build up a good reputation with the people that you do business with, so they keep doing business with you. Quality products, quality service. Your reputation is important. Look after it. It's starting to get a little bit dark here, and the moon has come out. Just before we move on, I just want to show you the petty cash voucher. The petty cash voucher is written out by the petty cashier, who happens to be, in this situation, my wife, Marushka. So she authorized this document, or authorized and gave permission as the petty cashier to me, Richard the owner, to take 500 Rand to pay for Caleb's computer lessons. And then this was signed here by Marushka, saying that this is okay. She's in charge of the petty cash, and I required the money to pay for Caleb's computer lessons. The petty cash voucher is used to record transactions that go into the petty cash journal. I would require a receipt from the lady in charge of the computer lessons. I need to bring this back to Marushka, Mommy, Caleb's mother. In this case, she's the petty cashier of Calibu Education, and she is very good at admin. She's going to record this information and file the document with the supporting documentation. There's Caleb at his not accounting lessons. Maybe one day he will be doing accounting lessons, but computer lessons. There's the receipt I got from the computer lady. So Marushka, the petty cashier, is going to attach this receipt to the petty cash voucher. I could have also got a document like this from the lady who gives the computer lessons, but I got issued a receipt. And it's good to invest in your loved ones. Caleb's getting a medal for some work he's done, and it's building his confidence, like your confidence is growing as you gain in knowledge. And be proud of what you do. He's got a certificate. This is actually for kids' music. And he's a happy young man, growing like you're growing, and you're going to do so well with all the knowledge that you're gaining. I'm going to show you the transactions that we identified at the start of this lesson that need to be recorded in the petty cash journal. I can see the moon is shining through nicely outside. So paid telecom from petty cash to top up the data. There's a petty cash voucher that was written up, and the amount is 300. So that's a transaction we're going to have to record in the petty cash journal. Richard the owner used 500 Rand to buy stamps. That one might need some careful attention, because some of the stamps were for business use and some of the stamps were for personal use, but the total amount was 500. We're going to look at courier charges that were charged to one of our clients' accounts. It was paid for, the courier was paid by petty cash, or with cash from the petty cash. Then there was a purchase, some tea and paper. We need to record that. We're also going to see where we can claim input VAT on standard rated items. And then I took some cash for Caleb's bouncing balls, and you'll see we spent that amount of petty cash for the month. And if you looked at the cash payments journal video, we needed to restore the imprest amount. A little bit more about that later on in the video, what the petty cash imprest amount means. I will explain that. And quickly, before we take the information and put it into the petty cash journal, I just want to compare the Cashbook payments with the petty cash journal. You can see here we've got column headings, document day. That's the same as the payments journal. Now this column here will differ because in the petty cash journal you are going to record what was actually paid for, who did the money, who was given the money. So for example, we went to the post office and we bought stamps. In the Cashbook payments, you write out the name of the person or institution that was paid. Important in the petty cash journal, in this column details, you actually record what was purchased, the items. So for example, data, stamps, not who was paid, because this was a cash transaction, petty cash. You write in the details column what was paid for. Then there's a column for petty cash, and then all the items that occur or are purchased regularly. Those items, like postage and stationery, will have its own column. They're the columns for transactions that happen on a regular basis, and those transactions that happen every now and then will appear under sundry. So you'll have the amount and the names of the general ledger accounts. So there we go. They're the column headings for petty cash. How did we end up with money in the petty cash? Money was taken from our bank account by either withdrawing with a bank card or writing out a check to cash, and that's how money ends up in PC, stands for petty cash. So the bank balance, the account, let's say 200 was put into petty cash. Bank would have been credited, a decrease in assets, and petty cash is also an asset. The value of the cash, the value of the petty cash account would have increased by 200. You see, that's the transaction demonstrated here with T accounts. Bank was credited and petty cash was debited. That's how cash ends up in petty cash. So what we need to do now is go and record the transactions that we identified that needed to go into the petty cash journal. We need to now record the transactions in this journal. Transaction number 1, which happened on the 12th, is the following. We paid Telkom from petty cash to top up the data. Petty cash voucher number 12 was written up and it was for 300. Remember, all amounts include VAT unless otherwise stated. Now your telephone is necessary to operate a business, So it's a standard rated item. And therefore, if we're dealing with a VAT vendor, and we're a VAT vendor ourselves, we can claim input VAT. So there's the document, petty cash voucher number 12, day the 12th, under details, what did we pay for? Data, how much is coming out of our petty cash? 300, including VAT. Then we calculate the VAT by saying 300 multiplied by the VAT fraction, 15/115. Go check out my VAT video, and that is equal to 39 Rand and 13 cents. To get the actual telephone amount, excluding VAT, all we do is we say the inclusive amount of 300 minus the input VAT we've just calculated. The telephone expense is therefore 260 and 87 cents. And under details, I'm going to write the name of the general ledger account that will be debited, telephone. And why it's debited, I'll tell you quickly. It's an increase in expense, and the rule says an increase in expense, you must debit the account. Next transaction. It said on the 15th, Richard used 500 Rand from petty cash to buy 50 stamps. He took 20 for his own personal use. Let's have a look. This one could be interesting. So how much petty cash was taken? What was it for? Stamps. Petty cash voucher number 13 was issued. The date's the 15th. What came out of petty cash? 500. So, what was the cost per stamp? 500 Rand was taken. 50 stamps were bought. Each stamp, therefore, costs 10 Rand. 500 divided by 50 is equal to 10. Now, 30 stamps, because Richard took 20 of the stamps, 50 minus 20 is equal to 30. 20 was for personal use and 30 was for business use. Each stamp cost 10 Rand. So what was the business expense, including VAT? 30 stamps multiplied by 10 is equal to 300. If I'm working a little bit too quickly, all you do is you pause, go back a bit, and play it again. So let's see how to record that now. So the total amount was 500. What is the postage and stationery for the business? Remember, 20 stamps the owner took for his own personal use. If the owner takes something for his own personal use, it is drawings. But let's first look at the business expense. Now, how many stamps were kept for the business? 30. There it is. What was the postage and stationery expense for the business? 300, because it's 30 times by 10 is equal to 300. We need to calculate the VAT because stamps are necessary in our business. So we say, what is the input VAT we can claim? Let me clean this up a bit. It's starting to get a little bit messy. So 30 stamps at 10 Rand came to 300. Those stamps are going to be used for the business. So on those stamps we can claim input VAT. So there we go. 300. 30 times by 10 was 300. Times by 15 over 115 gives you, there it is, 39 Rand and 13 cents. Now if I want the postage and stationery expense, I say 300 minus 39 Rand 13, because 300, 30 times by 10, was the VAT inclusive price of the stamps that were going to be used for the business. I took off the VAT. I said 300 minus the VAT amount calculated on the stamps being used for the business, which I said 300 times by 15 over 115, gave me the input VAT on the standard rated stamps. What that means is the stamps I'm allowed to claim input VAT on, only those stamps that I'm going to use in the business. Then to get the postage and stationery amount or expense for Calibu Education, we say 300 minus 39 Rand 13 is 260.87. Then there was 220 stamps that the owner took for his own use, and each stamp, remember, cost 10 Rand. 20 stamps times by 10 is 200, and that there the owner took for personal use, so you can't claim input VAT. Therefore that is drawings, personal use drawings. So there we go. Quite a challenging one in the beginning. What we did there was we claimed input VAT only on the stamps that were being used for Calibu Education, and then the 20 stamps that were being used for the owner in his personal capacity, no input VAT could be claimed on that. And how did I get that 200? We said 20 stamps times by 10 is equal to 200, and that there was for drawings, the owner's personal use. You might need to watch that again, but I have no doubt you will get it and understand what I've just explained. You might need to watch it a few times, but I know you will get it. I can hear a little bit of thunder. Oh, who can it be? Oh, that boy is appearing. He's coming to check, and that boy has arrived. He's coming to check if we've made the correct calculations with regard to the input VAT. Let's move on. So we're going to look at a few more transactions, and the first one on this page is on the 18th. The goods sold to the school had to be delivered via a courier. Petty cash was used to pay the courier, 245. So petty cash voucher 14 was filled in. The day is the 18th. We don't have the name of the courier company, which would give us more detail, but courier costs, it's gone under details. Under petty cash, how much came out of petty cash? 245, and this was charged to the debtor's account, and our debtor was the school. They have an account with us. They're going to pay for the delivery of the stock that they purchased, and the amount was 245. So this has actually been included in a sale to the school. The courier costs It was 245, and we're going to collect the money from the school when they pay us. So we paid for courier costs to get stock that we sold to the school to their premises. So there we go. 245 came out of petty cash, and under sundry 245, and whose account are we going to add it to? The school. In the debtors ledger, it will go to the school, and in the general ledger we will take that information to the debtors summary account, debtors control. The next transaction, what we did was we made a purchase of some ginger tea. It's good for you. And then there were also reams of paper that were bought for the printer. There were 3 reams of paper at 30 Rand each. 3 times by 30 is equal to 90, plus the 85 is equal to 175. So the cash that was used from the petty cash for this transaction, let's just say we bought the tea and the paper from the general store, which sells a whole variety of items. The total cost was 175. The postage and stationery, we've included the paper, the reams of paper under postage and stationery. But what is under postage and stationery? There were 3 reams of paper. 3 times by 30 is 90. But this is the exclusive amount. Now the paper is going to be used for the business. So paper is standard rated item. We can claim input VAT only on the 3 reams of paper, which comes to 90 Rand. So to calculate the input VAT we can claim, we say 90 times by 15 over 115 is 11 Rand 74. And 90 minus 11 Rand 74 will give you the exclusive cost of the paper, which we've put under postage and stationery. And that amount is 78 Rand and 26 cents. There it is, 78 Rand and 26 cents. But that's not the end of this transaction, because ginger tea, trying to keep our staff healthy, was purchased, and because it's a staff refreshment, it's a non-allowable item, we may not claim VAT. So the full amount goes under staff refreshments. And that's how that transaction there comes together. So let me run through it again quickly. From the general store, let's say a store that sells plenty of different items, we bought tea for 85 Rand. The full amount goes under staff refreshments, and the 3 reams of paper, which came to 90, we're going to use for the business, so we can claim input VAT on that. 90 multiplied by the VAT fraction is 11 Rand 74. So the postage and stationery exclusive amount, exclusive of VAT, is 90 minus 11.74. And the total amount used out of petty cash is 90 plus 85, which is 175. You might have to look at that a few times, but you're more than welcome to rewind and see that explanation again. Then Richard took 50 Rand. My wife's gone and recorded Richie Rich, getting quite familiar in the business. Under petty cash, it's 50 Rand. This is an item. Well, I've taken 50 Rand from cash for personal use, so it is drawings. Drawings didn't have its own column, so it appeared under sundry, and the amount is 50. So I took that cash for my own personal use, and what the owner takes out of the business is known as drawings. Drawings is debited, and that transaction there is complete. Petty cash journal. It was recorded in the petty cash journal. And there's the ginger tea, by the way, that was purchased. And Caleb is very happy. He got another bouncing ball. So life is good. We're all happy at Calibu Education. And now what we need to do is we need to take this information from the completed journal and put it in the next step of the bookkeeping cycle. We need to post that information to the general ledger. This is the completed petty cash journal for Calibu Education for the month of February. These are the 5 transactions that we looked at, and what we're going to do now is we're going to take this information and we're going to post to the accounts in the general ledger. Remember, we try and keep these in date order. So what I will do, well, let's see, we're trying to keep this in date order. I will start from sundry accounts, as if an item appears under sundry, we take the information on the day the transaction took place. If, for example, an item like input VAT has its own column, we take the total of the column on the last day of the month. Because what is the purpose of a journal? It's to take the load off the ledger. So we don't want to post to input VAT, let's say for example, that amount, and that amount. We have a column for input VAT, so we take only the total to the input VAT account on the last day of the month. If it appears under sundry, then we take the information on the day the transaction took place, these individual amounts for different things, telephone drawings, debtors control drawings. Now, we need to take this information to the general ledger of Calibu Education. It has been raining, and that's okay because we're indoors. So what we're doing now is I'm going to look at the drawings account and the debtors control account in the general ledger. So here we have the drawings account, and we're going to take the information and we're going to put it into the general ledger account on the days the transaction took place, because it appears under sundry. Now what we need to do is we need to apply our accounting rules. You need to know your accounting rules. I have a thorough video on the accounting rules. It will be worth your while for your accounting career to check it out. Just a reminder, the left hand side of the general ledger, the left hand side of the general ledger is known as the debit side, and the right hand side is known as the credit side. There you can see where the T account comes from. I divided this general ledger account into two sides: date, details, folio amount. Date, details, folio amount. A little bit of revision there. Now, why is the drawings account debited? And the reason why the drawings account is debited is the rule says if there's an increase in drawings, the account gets debited. So drawings increased because Richard took 20 stamps, I remember, at 10 Rand each for his own personal use. And if the owner takes something for his or her personal use, we debit drawings. The rule says debit drawings. We put in the date. The day the transaction took place was the 15th. Under details is the name of the contra account, which is petty cash. Where did the information come from? The petty cash journal number 2. There it is, right in the top right hand corner. And what was the amount? 200. So that's the first posting from the petty cash journal. The next one, while we're on the drawings account, 50 Rand was taken, I remember, to buy Caleb bouncing balls. So on the 25th, what is the name of the contra account? Petty cash. Under folio, where did the information come from? The petty cash journal. And how much was it? 50 Rand. Now I'm going to show you how to balance accounts, but in a later video. For now, we are just taking the information from the petty cash journal to the general ledger. The next account I'm going to do is debtors control. Remember when we couriered stock to the school, we charged the courier cost to the school's account. Now we're in the general ledger, so we're looking at debtors control. Debtors control is a summary of the individual debtors. And this information, because the school is accounts receivable, a debtor, it needs to be posted to the debtors control account on the day the transaction took place, because it appears under sundry. Where did the information come from? The petty cash journal. How much? 245. And why did we debit that account? Because the rule says an increase in assets, the account must be debited. And debtors control is an asset. The debtors owe us more as a result of this transaction. The rule says debit the account. So we debit debtors control, increase in assets. It's on the left hand side, which is the debit side. And every general ledger account will have a folio. According to our trial balance, drawings is B2, balance sheet account number 2, or statement of financial position account number 2, and debtors control was B7, account number B7. The general ledger accounts have a reference, a folio reference. In this case, B2 and B7. So we're well on our way to, we've already done 2 transactions. Let's move on. I'm actually doing the balance sheet accounts first. Sunrise. We're doing an all-nighter here. The sun is rising on Derbyshire Drive. And we're busy still with the petty cash journal, posting the information to the general ledger accounts. We've done drawings and debtors control, and the next account we're going to do is input VAT. Input VAT has its own column, so we take the total on the last day of the month. So there we go, 2024, February the 29th, under details, petty cash. Where did we get this information from? The petty cash journal number 2. And what was the amount? 90. Why did we debit input VAT? Remember, left hand side is debit, right hand side is credit. Input VAT is an asset. We can claim this 90 Rand from revenue services. The input VAT has increased. An increase in assets, the account must be debited on the left hand side. That is why the entry is put on the left hand side, because we applied our rule. So now we've done input VAT, we've done drawings, debtors control, input VAT, still a few more: telephone, staff refreshments, postage and stationery, petty cash. Let's move on. And what is input VAT? Balance sheet account number 8. And blue sky. And we move on. Now I've given you the trial balance because I want to point something out that is very important. This is the trial balance on the 31st of January 2024. We are doing February. This year is the balance brought down for petty cash. Now I'm just pointing this out because in our business we work on an imprest system. Every month we will start the month with 1,500. If money from petty cash is spent during the month, we replace it at the end of the month, and every month we will start on 1,500, the imprest amount. So this is the balance brought down on the 1st of February, 1,500. It is the imprest amount. In this exercise, I'm not putting in opening balances. I'm only taking the information from the petty cash journal to the general ledger. But I thought I would just include this for a little bit of extra insight into petty cash. So in the general ledger, on the credit side, we are going to take this information from the petty cash column, take what we spent out of petty cash into the petty cash account. Debit side, left hand side, right hand side, credit side. We credit this account with all the payments we made. We made lots of petty cash payments. Tea, ginger tea, drawings, postage and stationery. All the payments from petty cash came to 1270. Now remember, I didn't put it in, but we started with 1,500 and we're spending 1270. And then we will replace that 1270 at the end of the month, which is now. Then we'll start the next month again with 1,500. But at the moment in this exercise, all I'm doing is posting from the petty cash journal to the ledger accounts. So I have taken what? That amount to the general ledger. And why did I credit the 1270? Total payments, sundry payments from the petty cash journal? Because Petty cash is an asset. And there was a decrease in the balance of petty cash, a decrease in assets. So the account must be on the right hand side, the entry, because there was a decrease in assets. And the rule says a decrease in assets, credit the account. Let's move on. This is account B10. I got that there from the trial balance. B10 is the folio. Blue sky. And we're getting towards the end of the petty cash journal. Fantastic. I still need to do postage and stationery, staff refreshments. Let's see if we can wrap this up. So there we got the telephone account. Telephone is an expense, so is postage and stationery. Let's complete this posting from the journal to the ledger. Keep reminding you, left hand side debit, right hand side credit. And why were these accounts both debited? Because the rule says if there's an increase in expense, the account must be debited. So the entry has gone on the debit side. This was on the 12th because telephone appeared under sundry. If it's under sundry, then it gets posted on the day the transaction took place. Under details, you got petty cash. Where did the information come from? Petty cash journal number 2. What was the amount? 260.87. That information was posted to the general ledger. And the last one, we've got postage and stationery. I'm scribbling. The information is taken to the ledger account. Why was it debited? Because it was an increase in expense. Where did the information come from? The petty cash journal number 2. And what was the amount? 339 and 13 cents. So now we've taken the information from the petty cash journal to all the ledger accounts, except for one account, and that is N11, staff expenses. Staff refreshments. This could have been to be perfect to coincide with the journal called staff refreshments, or rather staff refreshments could have been called staff expenses. So that amount of money, 85, needs to be taken to the general ledger. Staff expenses, nominal account number 11. And there you got your debit and your credit side. And what is staff expenses? Exactly what it says. It's an expense. The expense has increased, and the rule says increase in expense, the account must be debited. Last day of the month, because staff expenses has its own column, so you take the total to the ledger account on the last day of the month. 2024 February has 29 days. There we go, ladies and gentlemen. That is the petty cash journal and posting to the general ledger, right from the petty cash voucher, the source document. We've now done 3 journals. We've done the Cashbook receipts, the Cashbook payments, and the petty cash journal. They are all 3 cash journals. The next video will be on the creditors journal. We're going to bring credit into play. Buy now, pay later. We're going to do those journals. I look forward to seeing you in that space. Like I said, that brings us to the end of the Petty Cash Journal. Go and take a break and look for a healthy snack to feed that growing mind. See you all soon. That's the end, my friend, for now.